Stay standing. Today is a special day because this is the last of our exercise sessions. If people want to keep going with these, please let me know in the comments, and I'll probably do some exercise ellipses occasionally, like I have been at the beach and around my house. So today we're going to just wrap up everything that we've been talking about since March. I know that's a big ask. We've got about 12 hours of footage that you can view online, and if you want to find it, you can find that on our YouTube channel, so that's Stay Standing on YouTube, and also our Facebook page, which you're accessing right now. So just look up in the videos section and you'll find all the videos up there. You can just watch them at your leisure. And you can watch this one at your leisure too if we're going too fast. Now the first thing that we've tried to do in every session is to make sure that you're safe. So I've always been next to something solid that you can lean on. Kitchen bench, for example, or a rail or a wall. We've also got our chairs. So make sure when you practice your exercises at home that you are safe. That is the number one rule. So after that, the number two rule is to have fun. So we've been trying a lot of different things in the kitchen. We've been making use of things that we just find lying about the house, like this water bottle. I've just got a 1.5 litre water bottle here. That's about 1.5 kilos. You can, if you're more serious about your training, go and buy a weight. Now this is one of the weights that I bought from one of our more well-known brand name stores in Australia. And actually during COVID-19 there was a run on these sorts of things and there were hardly any weights available. Everyone was working out at home, but possibly that's changed now as our lockdown relaxes a bit. So this is probably about, I think feels like about a 4 kilo or 5 kilo weight to me. And we've also been using other things that we have lying around the kitchen that I can just quickly put my hands on, like tins of beans, tins of coconut milk. We've got our, what have I got up here? These sorts of things. So we've got our little litre boxes of juice and milks and things. I've also found some beautiful fruit in season that we can use for our dexterity training or our weight training if you get one that's sort of the same size. Well, and we also have done some dexterity training. We also did a bit of juggling in the last, maybe it was a session before last. Something else you might like to train your dexterity and learn some new skills is to try and use chopsticks. So we also have rubber bands, which I can't quite put my hands on at the moment. But remember, with the rubber bands, these are fantastic for training your fingers so that you keep strong for everyday activities like feeding yourself and threading needles and doing knitting and the crafts or the drawing, the designing, things that you love to do. So that's the bottom line. I'm just going to segue into that thought. What do you love to do? That's the bottom line for all these exercise sessions. The reason why we do these funny little exercises is to keep us independent for living at home and keeping us able to do what we love to do as an independent older adult. Now these exercise sessions are more suitable for people aged over 65. Anyone can do them. There's no restriction, but the people that will benefit the most are over 65, and especially those in their 70s, 80s, and even 90s. If you are in that older age group, please make sure you are always holding on to something. I've been doing different levels of difficulty in our exercises. So usually we start in the chair for people who don't have very good balance. The people who have poor balance should always be holding on to something. So I've been talking a lot. Oh, and this is my little faithful friend that you've been seeing in most of our clips. Most of the time we have him tied up, but he's quite a companion. So today he's on his own, and hopefully he won't distract me too much. But this is Vito, and he's a beautiful boy. I'm sure a lot of you have your own beautiful boys. Oh yes, all right, oh good boy. All right, so I have to keep away from Vito now, and we're just going to go through our exercise routine one last time. So we are always starting with our warm-up. And one of the precautions with the warm-ups are Don't move your joints into too extreme a range because you can cut off the blood supply to your brain and things like that. That's just a warning. It doesn't happen for everybody. It's only if you're in a very high risk group that that can happen. But we don't want any mishaps at home, so that we want to keep your blood well supplied with circulation. Sorry, your brain well supplied with the blood circulation. So when I talk about seeing white spots in front of your eyes at the end of range of some of these exercises, that's just a precaution so that you know that it is possible to restrict your blood supply if you have blood vessel narrowing. So we're going to start with our neck warm up again. So here we are, we've been taking our chin up to the sky and we've been bringing it down to our chest. And the extreme of range, of course, is when you take your head right back. That's when if you're starting to feel dizzy or see white spots in front of your eyes, that's when you should bring your head back to neutral and just maybe not do that exercise. The other exercises for our neck we've been doing is to take our chin as far as we can across our shoulder on one side. And of course, this is an end of range kind of movement as well. So if you're getting any white spots or dizziness or funny feelings around that range, just bring it back or move it back a bit, or just bring it back to neutral until those feelings go away. Otherwise, if you don't get those symptoms, then it's probably safe to give it a bit of a stretch. And you'll be getting that stretch down your neck towards your shoulder on the other side there. So as you can tell, I'm going to be talking a lot today because this is our wrap-up session. Unless you convince me in the comments to keep going. So if you want to like and subscribe and, you know, I mean, I really enjoy doing these, so I don't mind keeping going. I might do some pop-ups later, just for the fun of it. Okay, so let's take our chin to the other side and look over our shoulder towards the other side of our body. And also it's good to take a few deep breaths, especially in these stressful times that we're going through with the coronavirus pandemic. So just remember, if things are feeling a bit overwhelming, just sit down, take stock, just feel your body, take some deep breaths. And on that note, we've talked about expanding our lungs. Now we're coming into winter in Australia. We are practically in winter. And the way to really get the air down into the base of your lungs and every part of your lungs is to take slow, deep breaths. So the way we give ourselves feedback is to put our hands at the base of our ribs and feel them expanding as we inhale. So let's just try that together. Put your hands there and take a nice, slow, deep breath. Here we go. Hold, take a bit more in, and relax out. Now, when you do that, you can feel your ribs expanding on the inhalation against your hands. You don't have to keep your hands there, but that's just to give you some feedback so you know you're doing it properly. Okay, it's good to sit up straight and tall as you can as well when you're doing these deep breaths. Now, we also covered some expiration techniques. So one of our other sessions we talked about coughing and huffing. Now, coughing, if you happen to get ill and you have some phlegm on your chest, or you just have a persistent cough, it can be very exhausting, especially for an older person. So just to save your energy and wait until you know that phlegm's just about ready to cough out, you can try some other techniques. And one of those techniques is a huff, and you can take a sort of a half breath, so not a full breath, just a half volume breath. And then as if you're going to clean some glasses. That's the way I think of it. So as if you are holding a mirror up to on your hand, and you do it like that, and you're trying to fog up the mirror or your glasses ready to clean them. That's what their technique's like. And that will often stimulate a cough too, if there's anything sitting there in that upper part of your chest that needs to come out. So doing some deep breaths every half hour or so when you're unwell helps to keep your body aerated, of course, and keep you absorbing that oxygen, and also helps you push out the phlegm. So we won't dwell too much on that, but there's a couple of things. One more thing about that, if you do get exhausted or if you are prone to asthmatic attacks, you can actually engage your shoulder muscles to become breathing muscles. And we covered this another time. So one of our other sessions I showed you, the technique is to stabilise your arms against something solid and lean forward. And that has the effect of making these muscles become assistants to your breathing muscles. So you can do that on the back of a chair, you can do it on a table or in a lean forward position like this. And you'll be amazed how much easier it is to breathe like that. Okay, so other things that we've been doing, we've been looking at the typical arthritic joints. So in the morning we've been doing some stretches, and we were doing our shoulder stretches. So we've done our neck already, our shoulder stretches. So we take them all through the range. So this is our forward flexion range, and now we're going back. I'll just go a slide on to show you. So we probably do about 8 to 10 of these, and then all the way back. So that's forward and backwards. That's called flexion extension. Then we have our sideways. So this is our abduction and our adduction. And know that some of you don't have full range in your shoulders, and this is where you can use the other arm to support and get as high or as much through that range as you can. So this is a little bit different this session, so I'm just going to go through all the explanations and what underlies those explanations. So, and the things we've been doing. Okay, so getting back to it, so we've got our abduction, so moving our arms out to the side, and then our adduction, bringing them back towards the body. You can bring in some Tai Chi moves and some breathing with that too. So this is a nice one. We take our feet apart, or you can sit in the chair as well, and you can breathe in as you go up, and breathe out as you go down. Let's try that again. Breathing in, and breathing out. So you're incorporating your breathing with your range of motion, your stretching of your shoulders becomes a little exercise. We've also been looking at the exercises that are not usually done with the shoulders and should be done more of for an older adult. And they are things like our external rotation and our extension. So with those we can use the weights. I'll show you how to use a weight such as a bottle of water with that. So remember, this one is for our external rotators of our shoulders, and I'll just do one side. We tuck our elbow into our waist. Now this elbow stays glued into your waist, and you just take that back. So you'll feel that in your shoulder joint at the top here, that ball and socket joint. So the shoulder is like this, and it moves around, and the shoulder is stabilized by muscles mostly. So we need to keep our muscles strong. When we don't have muscles holding our joint in the right place, we can get pain and all sorts of postural problems. So remember, when we're doing these exercises, we want to pull our shoulders down and back so that the joint is in a good position. Okay, and that automatically, when you pull your shoulders down and back and tuck your chin in a bit, that automatically seems to activate your core muscles as well of your abdomen. It's a really good postural exercise. So just reiterating what I was saying with the shoulder before, tuck that elbow in, turn the arm outwards. That's a really good exercise. Of course, let's do that on the other side. So I'll just do a few of those on this side now to even up. So I'm setting my shoulders down and back, tucking my chin in, and the posture's good, and then I'm going to take that elbow into external rotation. So you can be stopping and starting. Even just this session will give you a really good workout, and I'm going to go through the whole body before the end of this session. Okay, another way to get your posture into a good alignment is to stand against something solid like a wall. Now you can see I've got my kitchen wall here, and what I'm doing, getting my heels as close to the wall as I can. Now if you have balance problems, just put a chair here as well, just to protect your balance. So try and get the small of your back as flat as you can into the wall. And pull your shoulders and down and back, and press your upper torso into the wall as well. And my heels, I'm bringing them as close to the wall as I can. Now this is really exaggerated, and there's probably no way I can sustain this posture when I leave the wall. But I just want to show you, in principle, what we're aiming for. Oh, I just turned my head. That was clever. There we go. So let's just try and move away from the wall now and maintain that sort of posture. So how am I going? Let's try that again. So pressing into the wall, press, hold it. Even if you just make this an exercise, hold your lower abdomen pressed in, or your lower back pressed into the wall for about 10 seconds. That is a decent core stability exercise for a beginner to start with. You can also engage your pelvic floor. We have talked a little bit about pelvic floor in this exercise series, and that sort of deserves a whole series on its own, so I'm not going to go into it right now, but if you squeeze and lift the muscles between this part, the front and the back, squeeze and lift those saddle region muscles, and that's activating the pelvic floor as well. So here we go. I think that's probably enough of holding onto the wall. Now I'm going to step away and trying to maintain that posture. And it feels really strange. I know that I'm probably slumping when I'm in my normal everyday life, but I'll try and maintain that nice straight posture for you now. So we have also been doing some hip warm-up activities. So a lot of you, I know, have arthritis in the hips and or the back, or just some people have it everywhere. But for the hips, we're going to show you a little warm-up now. So I'm going to hold on. If my balance is not good, I'm going to hold on to my bench. Otherwise, I'm just going to show you without holding on. So the first one we do is the hula hoop. And we're just describing a circle. So we're just gently warming up the hips. Okay, so I'm sort of going back and forwards in a circle. I'm going in a circle in one direction with my hips, and then a circle in the other direction. Okay, now another one we can do is take the heel into the floor in front of you and just turn your toes in and out. So that's that one that I've been showing you sometimes, where you can feel the ball of your hip rotating in the joint. I advise you to hold on if you have poor balance. So that's that one. Now let's try the other foot. And with this warm up, we're just lubricating the head of our hip. Getting it going, warming it up. And you can do that at any angle. So you might find the angle that's problematic for you, and just feel where it needs to be warming up. Okay, so I think you get the idea. And now our hips, we've got so many hip exercises, but there are some key movements for the hips that we need for everyday function. So most of us are pretty strong when it comes to bending the hip. That's really not my priority in these exercise sessions. I'm more interested in extending the hip or taking it back behind you. So let's do a few of those. And the reason why, I'm going to show you the exercises that are useful for everyday mobility and keeping you walking around safely in your everyday life. So this one is called hip extension. And what we do, we have a straight leg and we just take the heel back behind us, and it's only about that far. It's not really far. If you go too far, you'll start arching your back, and we don't want that. So take the foot directly back behind you with a straight leg. Let's just do 10 on each side. So let's start now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Other side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, now, so that's covered our hip extension. What we also need are our hip abductors. So that means abduction is going away from the body and adduction is coming towards. So it's usually the extending and the abducting that's a bit weak in older adults. So we're going to focus on our abduction, and that is where we hold onto our bench again. Just bend this supporting leg slightly so that our joints are not jammed on each other. And we're going to take one leg out to the side, directly to the side. And I know I hammer on about this every time. Keep your toes pointing forwards, or even lead outwards with your heel, not with your toe, because if you lead out with your toe, you're getting the flexors involved. We don't want that. We don't want that side of our leg exercising so much. It's already strong. So we want this part of our leg exercising, or our hips. So we point our heel outwards and we lead like that, straight out to the side. And we keep our upper body tall, have some good form. So try not to move from the waist up. So what we don't want are people bending over like this, or like this, or too high going out to the side. So let's just try that again. We'll get some good technique going here. So when you're on your own, you can just press play and stop and do a few of these. Okay, so body up nice and tall. We're not moving from the waist up. Hold on if you need to for your balance, and take a little bit of a bend in this leg, supporting leg, and take the other leg straight out. And finally, make it a nice relaxed thing, so do some nice deep breathing with it. So I hope that you are going to stop and start this video when you're on your own and reviewing it, and then you can just do about 10 of each of these just as a guide, a rough guide, and just find the number that you're comfortable with. Some people will only be able to do 5, some people can do 50, and that just depends on your own ability. And you're only competing against yourself, not anyone else. So, okay, we're going to now do that with the other leg. I'm going to turn around. I'm going to hold on with my hand to the other side, bending this leg slightly, and now I'm going out with my other leg outwards. Five, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now, why is this exercise important? It's because it works these muscles, and when we walk, when we have one leg in the air and we're taking a step, that muscle is stabilizing the supporting hip and also keeping the other hip from dropping. If I had weak muscles there, it would look like this. And you've seen people like that. They trip over their own toes. We don't want you to be like that. So it's just dangerous. So that's a good little exercise to practice. Now another one for your hips is this sideways walking. So this is just about shifting your weight from one leg to the other. Now hold on if you need to. So find your kitchen bench or your chair or whatever it is, and just take your weight from one side to the other, And to make it more difficult, we're going to, if you can, dip as you do that. So we're throwing in a bit of strengthening there. We can make it even harder if you're really, if you're really gung-ho. You can add weights in there as you're doing that exercise. So we're dipping with a weight. You have to have good balance to do it that way, remember? Otherwise you'll have to hold on to the bench. So this is the hardest way. It's not going to be for everybody. Hold the weight close to your chest. Remember, this will make your hands unavailable to support yourself. So this is only for people who have good balance. You can do it by leaning against your bench because the bench will support you, and then it's not such a balance exercise, it's more of a strengthening for the hips exercise. Okay, so there are variations that you can try, but that exercise that I just showed you, this one, this is the easiest version of it, holding on and just going side to side. That exercise is for when you're transferring your weight from one leg to the other. And there's a moment there when you have to transfer your weight across to the other leg for every step. And those hips have to be strong to do that. So in combination with that previous exercise, it'll keep you safe when you're walking. Okay, another exercise that we teach in this Stay Standing program is, let me see, well there's so many exercises, but we can do this one for our calves. So we teach this one in the Stay Standing program. I'll just show you my calves. When I do that, you'll see that this makes my calves activate. So I'm going up on my toes and my heels are off the floor, like I'm reaching up on tippy toes. And why we do that one, when you walk, you know, you're rolling from the heel through to the toe, and the toe presses into the floor to take a step, and at the point where I'm pressing into the floor to take my next step, I'm pushing into the ground to make a decent sized step. Now when people have weak hip extensors and weak calves, they tend to walk like this, shuffling. Easy to trip on your own toe, you know, very small steps, and it can be a problem with independence and falls. So when we do this exercise, this is a nice one to keep our calves nice and strong, keep us with a spring in our step as we walk. Okay, so there are many variations on that exercise for the calves, and we can, ranging from, you know, the dips that I was showing you before, that also strengthens your calves. Going up on your, so the dips are for the thighs and the calves, by the way. So the going up on your toes is a really good one. You could, if you're feeling particularly strong, you could take one leg off the ground and go up on your single leg, but you have to be quite strong and you have to have good balance. If you wanted to make it really hard, then you could add the weights in and not hold on to anything, but I'm not going to show you how to do that in this session. So that would be quite a risky move for an older adult with poor balance. So please make sure that you're safe. So we just want to check that you're doing it. Okay, another one that's really important that we teach people in the Stay Standing program are our balance exercises. Now we've been moving through our joints, and I haven't forgotten that we were warming up each joint. So we're actually down around our knees now. Let's come back to our knees. Here's an easy one you can do at home. You can just do it in front of the TV. So this is a chair exercise really, so it's not so good for your balance, but it's okay for your strength and for warming up your knees. So we're going to just take our leg up and down. Now some people put a weight on their ankle. I actually think it's safer just to use the weight of your own leg. Now just note that your thigh is staying pressed on the seat. All you're doing is bringing your foot up so that your knee's straight. And we can do that any old time. So what we're doing, if you really want to make that a strong contraction, you're pulling your toes towards your nose and you're tensing your kneecap. And you can feel this muscle activating when you do that. So this is a great one to do if you're watching TV at night or during the day. Do a few of these. You can do that for any number of times, and that helps keep your thigh muscles strong. And that is required when we're walking. That exercise helps us to put our heel down first when we're walking. So although it seems like a pretty silly exercise and quite dull, actually it's a very important one. So when we walk and we put our heel down first and roll through our foot, the act of putting that heel down first and pulling the toes up is going to prevent us from tripping over our own toes. If I didn't do that, if I walk on my forefoot, you can see what it looks like, and I'm also more at risk of catching my toe when I'm walking. So that funny little exercise, this one that I just did, that's the one that helps you stand with your heel first when you're walking. Stick with your heel first, I have to say. Okay. Now, some people, like I said, like to put a weight on the ankle. That's probably the most I would recommend. I don't think that people should be doing 2 legs at once. Sometimes we have really enthusiastic people in our live groups and they're saying, oh yeah, just get it done quicker, or so they're trying to do 2 legs at once. Just do one at a time. Make it a nice, enjoyable, relaxing exercise that you add your deep breathing to. And also make sure your back is supported. And also some people have sore knees, don't they? So if you are one that has an osteoarthritic knee or some other kind of knee problem, just go as high as you can. Because even the smallest amount of effort is going to activate that muscle. Even if you can't fully straighten your leg, just make a start. Try and pull your toes up and just try and get as far as you can before the pain starts, so that you are getting some muscle activity there. Now, all those exercises I've just shown you can be adapted for the chair. I'm going to show you, we'll just go back to our hips. So if you can't do squats and things like that, you can do sit to stands. So if you need support, you could face your chair next to something. You could have your hands on, like I'm doing with my bench, or you could have a chair with armrests to push through as you stand up. You could push through your seat. But the key thing to make this an effective balance exercise and strength exercise is to have your shoulders evenly over your knees. And this is something else I hammer on about in every time we do this exercise. Make sure that your shoulders are coming evenly over your knees. So you're leaning forward. I should be more forward in my chair. So my heels are slightly behind the line of my knee, and my shoulders are coming forward evenly over my knees. And that way I know that I'm exercising both sides of my body equally. So I recommend maybe try 10 of those. And you can push through with your arms if you're not able to stand up by yourself like this. If you can't do this, then by all means just do a semi-stand or push through with your arms. But make sure you do this exercise. This is one that could be in everybody's practice, because this is an exercise that keeps you living independently. Once you can't stand up from your own bed in the morning or off a chair or on and off the toilet, that's when you lose independence and you'll need someone else to support you, and you may not be able to live at home anymore. So this is a key exercise, and I really want you to take that away from this session today. So this is the way to do it. Put your shoulders evenly over your knees and give that a go. And of course that's strengthening the fronts of the thighs and the gluteals. Okay, so that is a nice functional exercise. We are going to finish up pretty soon. And I just want also to tell you a couple more things before we go. We will be available, or when I say we, you can contact me through the Stay Standing website or through the Facebook page. Just send a message or even just make a comment under one of our clips, and we read them and we'll get back in contact with you if you want to contact us. And we are doing online sessions one-to-one and with groups. So if that interests you, please let us know. So it's been my privilege and my pleasure to bring you these little broadcasts, our adventures online with you. Thank you for understanding and still giving us thumbs up and sending us love when we have our bloopers. So, and we're sending you love too. So during this time when I know many of you are probably alone at home and wondering what is becoming of the world and this pandemic and political situations, just remember that there are people who are full of love and care for each other, and we're sending you our very best. So thank you for being with me today. Look after you, and I'll see you again online sometime. Bye now.